So the background behind why I got into my area of research really tracks right back to when I initially finished my undergraduate pharmacy training, when I started working at the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital, and I identified areas of weakness in my ability to provide best possible pharmacy care for patients. And I thought that I was a bit weak when it came to my knowledge of antibiotics. I thought there was a lot more I could understand about how to best dose antibiotics, and I could see that very few people knew anything about how to dose any drug in the intensive care unit. So I brought all of those three aspects together and then undertook this essentially 15 years worth of research activity that's led me to this point now, whereby I focus very strongly on trying to work out how to best dose drugs with a specific focus on antibiotics, but in our most critically unwell patients. We're learning a lot about antibiotics now. We've known for some time that not only are they important for ensuring that the individual patient is more likely to survive from a very severe infection, but we now understand how they can also stop the emergence of antibiotic-resistant superbugs. Not only is stopping the emergence of superbugs beneficial for the individual patient, but it also has community-wide benefits, because it means these very important drugs, these antibiotics, will be able to be used for longer and for the benefit of the community. So we've been very fortunate enough to lead a very large international guideline for how to optimally dose antibiotics in critically ill patients. This was an activity which involved 4 international professional societies, participants from 12 countries throughout the world, and essentially assimilated data from over 1,000 research publications to provide definitive guidance of what we now know about antibiotics and how they should be dosed in critically ill patients. So we've been very fortunate over the last 15 years to perform a lot of what I think are really important research projects which describe for individual drugs what kind of doses should be used in the most critically unwell patients. And because we have done lots of these individual studies, it became very clear to us that whilst we have a broad understanding of how to use individual drugs, many other people didn't. And so that led us to recognise the importance of developing a guideline, a singular resource which clinicians everywhere would be able to access and use, and therefore be able to derive the benefit of the research of our team, which has been very active, but also other groups around the world as well. So we've distilled it down into a singular resource, which is now able to be easily used for the care of patients. So we're very fortunate with one of our Brisbane-wide collaborations to be working with the 4 main hospitals in metropolitan Brisbane. One of the key partners in this is Associate Professor Lorenz Schlappbach, and essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to combine our research fields to try and provide the best possible treatment intervention for patients that are seriously unwell with severe infection. Our work is trying to identify the bacteria which is causing infection faster and which antibiotics are best used to treat that specific bacteria. Once we are able to identify that, then we can use our dosing software work to then work out how to optimally dose that antibiotic. So the funding that we've received from BDHP has allowed us to commence this multi-centre study within Brisbane. Performing incremental level research like this, whereby you take small steps to test an intervention, confirm that it is valuable, and then move forward thereafter, is something which is very important. And we're very much on target for establishing that for an intervention which we think is very important and is likely to revolutionise the way that care is provided to critically ill patients. In terms of this specific area of optimising treatment of critically ill patients with severe infections, Queensland, to my mind, is actually a global leader. It's not just an Australian leader, but also a global leader. A lot of the large clinical trials which are coming through now have been led from Queensland. And this latest group of studies, which BDHP have funded, are really a culmination of all of the ideas and all of the value that we see in other studies being put into a framework whereby we think we can further improve and maximise the use of antibiotics, as well as optimise the care of these critically ill infected adults and children. So whilst the research team recognises the importance of the funders of the research, we also recognise the clinical staff and the support we get from our hospitals to be able to do this work. Without that mentality and psychology that there are for staff and hospitals to support research, research wouldn't be possible. And so we're very grateful to the nursing staff, medical staff, allied health staff, the administration staff at each of the hospitals which is allowing us to perform this research.